Good morning. Today is June 18th, 2024, and it is Tuesday, Texas Tuesday. So I wanted to pop on and do a quick minisode about how to launch a startup. And so I was thinking the other day that a year ago this time that I never in a million years would have thought that I would leave my six-figure corporate job that I was very comfortable at and launch my own online course business. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things that have transpired in this experience over the last few months, and then how to go about getting to the point that you're able to start your own business. And a lot of people call it a side hustle. I don't call it a side hustle because I am in the process and have been in the process for the last 3 or 4 years, divorcing the concept of hustle mentality. I think hustle mentality creates burnout, which has a serious impact on your physical health. And so I don't subscribe to any of that nonsense anymore. I am definitely about living life from a point of wellness and a point of balance. So in order to get started in launching a business, I put together a few steps to take in order to identify the key things you need in order to get going. So, number one, let's talk about identifying a problem and having a solution for it. And then having that problem and solution backed by your passion and desire to be able to launch and build the business. A lot of times it's easier to go to the market to test to see if there is a viable market for the problem that you're going to solve. And if so, then you have to put a plan in place. You always hear me talking about planning because in my risk management career, over the past I've been in banking and finance for 18 years. Over the past 12 years, the part of banking that I've been focused and specialized in, is risk management. And so you'll always hear me talking about planning. You'll always hear me reference to agile methodologies, Scrum methodologies, and organizing the ideas that you have into actionable steps. And so for launching a business, like I said, you want to identify the problem that you're solving and have the ability to come up with a solution and turn that into a business. And for millennials and Gen Z, we tend to thrive on authenticity and purpose. 9 times out of 10 for millennials and Gen Z, we are more likely to do business with a company that's backed by purpose, which means that the company is out to do something significant in the world and impact change, other than just being out here like our parents and our grandparents' generation, just making all the money in the world, just, the ultimate representation of capitalism. And so once you build from a place of solving a problem, putting a plan behind it, and then having passion and desire to build and launch that dream, aligning your startup with your values and solving that issue, it fuels motivation and it resonates deeply with your target audience, which is ultimately going to be your customers. Number 2, you want to embrace, I just mentioned this a second ago, you want to embrace the concept of project management and having an agile mindset in order to quickly be able to pivot and maneuver the markets based on your processes and your systems. Jeff Williams' book, what is it called? Launch. It's a super amazing book. That book is $20. And it's so funny. Jeff Williams' book is $20. And then there are people out here selling $2,000 and $3,000 courses, online courses on the key components of that book. If you really want to know how to launch a business, just go get the book. It's $20 and it's super super easy to digest. And then the other thing about it is that he updated it, I think in 2021. So you have an updated version of it since since it was released so many years ago, and I think it was like in the late 90s when he released it. He went back and updated it right after the pandemic because that was pretty much the perfect time. But when you have a minimum viable product, you can take your product to the market. You can test your concept early to see if the market takes kindly to it, and then you can get feedback from your audience and or potential customers, to implement what needs to be fixed and change it in the product so that it can be more effective in serving your market. Number 3, you got to learn digital tools in this day and age. Everything is digital marketing. Digital marketing, it's online, period. And so I mentioned in a Meta post the other day that Gen Z, like I have a Gen Z kid, they're naturally online experts in marketing. I can give my son, my 14-year-old, how many birthdays has he had? He was 14 when I started teetering with the idea of putting an online business together. He just turned 16 a week ago. And anytime I take my stuff to market, a post, IG post, a TikTok video, anything that I put like out there specifically that's catering to their generation, because their generation they're getting to the point, I think the oldest Gen Zer is like 21, 22 now, and then my son is 16. And they're getting to the point that they're getting ready to transition over into adulthood in the next 2 years, and then they're going to college. And then, the traditional American go to college, get a job path. That's the concept I'm thinking about as they transition. And I market to millennials and Gen Z specifically. And I am open to working with other generations, but my message resonates most with people who are ages 18 to 45. And so I have my son go in and check like my marketing when I'm creating stuff, because he gives me a very genuine, authentic opinion about the information that I'm putting out there and whether or not it might be a hit. And then it gives me feedback on how to tailor the content that I'm creating to specifically translate over to both, from my perspective, millennials, and then his perspective, Gen Z. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that, honestly, launching a startup is an exhausting process. The first year, you're pretty much building everything, like they say in real estate, from the ground up. For me, I bought into masterminds that were effective and plugged into their systems. And then I got processes and systems that were easy to translate over into my own business because they have been doing this for 14, 15, 16 years. And so while I was building my corporate career, they were out here in these streets building digital businesses, so they know what they're doing. So that is a key thing. You want to seek out people who are doing what you want and desire to do, and who have been successful at it. Everyone that I've invested in, as far as an online course and or a mastermind, make multiple 8 figures a year. Every one of them. There might be one girl who hasn't hit the 8-figure mark yet, but that's I contribute that to being because she's a little more scatterbrained and unfocused, but when she talks about certain things, she's very good at the topic. She's a subject matter expert on that. And I listen to her when I can get a clear message on the topic that I want to hear about. And she's pretty good at that. But other than that, sometimes she just be so scatterbrained. That's the one thing that I am challenged with young millennials is like, if you were between 1980 and 1990, you do get a sense of the traditionalism that came from prior generations because our parents are baby boomers. But with the millennials that are born after the 90s, from like 90 to like 99, yo, they be like so scatterbrained and they quit everything. Like, it just takes them way longer to get to stuff. And then for them, everything is an issue. Like, their world is always tumbling down. And I think they're starting to transition into their 30s. My nephew he just turned 25. So he's a millennial. He teeters between being a millennial and a Gen Z because he's the oldest of my sister's kids. And it's just like, it's been a challenge for me to mentor. I can mentor anybody, but the challenges that I come in contact with mentoring the younger millennials is they quit stuff all the time. They don't give enough time for stuff to play out. And then they literally think stuff is supposed to happen for them like overnight. We were the microwave generation. We want it now. And while we wanted it now, we had to go through the process of the old ways of getting a job, keeping a job, investing in a 401k, being responsible, having kids, like doing that traditional path before we could get to the freedom of what I am building now. And it's not even Gen Z. The younger millennials don't want to do that at all. They just quit everything. And I'm like, this is before I left the firm last year. I was talking to a younger millennial and he was complaining. He had been in the firm like all of maybe 3 months and he was complaining about how he wasn't getting ahead and he wanted to quit. And I was like, you can't quit everything every time you don't get your way. And I know you guys were raised in a much less convoluted time than we were, okay? Everybody wasn't a winner in my high school and my college. You actually had to compete for those slots. And now we live in this time and space where everybody's a winner and everybody's a queen and everybody's a king and everybody's you get awards for freaking participation. Well, if you're going to always give quote unquote rewards for participation, how are people ever going to learn their strengths and weaknesses and hone in on them about what makes them unique? And that's what makes your cutting edge what it is. And so I say this a lot to my mentees that like I said, they just crossed over their 30s and they're in their mid-20s. We all had quarter life crisis. I remember having like 5 of them. And I look back on that time in my life now and all the things that I was doing just to say that I was successful. And I think, like, girl, what was wrong with you? You really were on another level, like doing a lot. And then the gotcha part is that even from that perspective, like at 26, 27, as much as I was doing, running $1 million private equity firm, funding businesses, I was pregnant. I was volunteering in nonprofit organizations. I was in banking school. I was doing so much. And I still thought that I wasn't doing enough. That is the difference between, like I said, the 80 to like 89 millennials and then the 90s to 99. That's the difference between us. It's like we had to compete actually in order to win stuff. And at the end of the day, if you didn't win and you wanted to come back and get that winning title, you went back to the drawing board, put a plan together, and you figured out how to come back to the table the following year in order to win what it was that you desired, your dream. And so in starting and launching a business, it's going to be the same thing. I will say this, everyone's not an entrepreneur, right? It's okay for you to have a 9-to-5. I had one for 18 years. Everybody is not meant to run a business and to delegate resources and budgets and taxes. And it's not for everyone. everybody. But for the people who jump out into the game and swim in the middle of the ocean and get their weight up and their skills up, oh, it's definitely for you. And guess what? With me jumping out into the game, I'm just now getting started. Like, I'm on my second run, right? Like, I didn't know what I was doing in my 20s. In my 30s, I halfway knew what I was doing. And now, like, I got the game on lock. I know what I'm doing. I'm building a solid business to pass on to my kid if he wants it, at least to be able to spin off from it so that he can know what it's like to watch somebody live in a corporate life and build a business, because you don't have to be put into a box on how you make your income. But anyway, I thought that was pretty solid advice. I think that's all for today. I'm going to wrap it up because, it's 7:47 a.m. in the morning and your girl got stuff to do. I hope you all have a productive week, and I will see you in the next episode.